though, diagnosis. And so what percentage of people are being diagnosed with something they don't really have?
A lot.
A lot. So when you tell someone that you're something, what are they going to do? They believe that, and then they're going to start doing
Right.
that. So that's where coming from my end, that's where I disagree with the whole thing. Like, sure, are there people out there? Yeah, but I would never want someone to ever believe that, even if they were. I wouldn't. So it's whatever you believe, you're gonna do. Whatever you do, you're gonna have. In our society, we're like, well, I have to have money in order to be happy. I have to have all these things to believe something. And I believe we're working the wrong way. So if you tell someone like they have ADD, which in my opinion, I believe that can be a strength. I think ADD in our society today has been negative due to all these technology things that happen, and you get distracted. But I believe that some of the best, smartest people had ADD to be able to do multiple things at the same time. So I believe that's a strength, but people don't label it as a strength. They label it as a negative. And whatever energy you give something, that's what's going to come out. So so coming from my end, I don't believe in the whole I don't believe that diagnosis. I think it hurts people, and they get so stuck in that mentality of, oh, this is what I am, so I guess I have to do that. And so where I would rather, let's focus on what you do want to be. Focus on who you want to be. You decide. And I think in today, everyone's letting everyone else decide who they want to be instead of them standing up for themselves like, hey, this is what I want to be.
Well, and what you can be together.
And be
That's the, I mean, you can be educated, you can work through, but just be aware of what you're.
Well, and I think any sort of labels you put on yourself, whether it's your career, personality, angles, because I think if you put yourself in a box, it's really hard for God to lead you outside of that where He wants to take you. And I've learned that the hard way in the last couple of years is I had a very strict idea of like, this is what I want to do for my job. And then I've learned that like if I follow kind of the promptings, then God takes me a different way. So what qualities do you guys look for when you're looking for a partner?
I think honesty is huge. Consistent integrity.
Yeah.
That's huge for me.
Good communicator.
Can you talk a little bit louder?
Oh, good communicator. Communication is key. I like somebody who's smart, has knowledge of the gospel. I mean, it's as a convert, I don't know everything about it. So hearing somebody else talk about those things, whether we're in church or not, is really something that I feel that I need. So I like that as a quality for sure.
Well, and obviously everyone's different, and so the things we look for are different, and the things that are important to us are different. For Phil, someone who has maybe a strong knowledge of the gospel, that would really speak to you, whereas someone else, it might not speak to them as much. It's still important, but something else would draw you into someone and really bring you close to someone a lot more. So, and I think that's the key is just, figuring out what it is we want, because I think a lot of us don't really know. We think one thing, but in reality it might be something else. But if we can figure out what that is, and then looking for that, because then it's easier to find.
And it's also easier to find if you're doing it. Okay, so first you have to do it yourself. If you want a kind person, you have to learn how to be kind. The two traits, scientific, the two traits are kindness and generosity. If you are generous, if you are a kind person, you're going to attract a kind person. But you have to be that first. You have to seek to understand before you're understood, so you can be in that spot. You have to be, what you want to attract, you have to be first. You have to set boundaries. You have to, if you want someone that is very affectionate, you're probably you're going to be affectionate. But those two, generosity and kindness, is what I'm looking for.
Well, I think we're all missing one.
Which is
Attraction, isn't that the first thing? You have to be attracted to the person.
Well, that was one of my questions, is how important is attraction to you versus personality? Are they equal? What is it that you find important?
On behalf of everyone, that personality will make that attraction bigger, or else it'll shrink down that person. And what's attractive to me might not be attractive to cable. So that's
I've definitely had the experience of I wasn't physically attracted to somebody right off the bat, but then I started talking to them, communicating with them, and figuring out stuff about them, and that's when I became attracted to them. And I mean that's.
And someone that you might be really attracted to off the bat, you might get to know, and then the attraction kind of goes away.
Exactly.
But there's something that's been interesting as well, that you might find someone really attractive and they have everything on the so-called list, and there's nothing there. There's that connection that's so important.
Who makes the list? I want to know. Like, who makes the list, really? Who has a list right now written down?
Raise of hands.
Raise your hands.
You have a list?
Like, do you have a list?
All right.
Okay, so there's like, maybe, the ones that are,
Well, let's circle around a
Yeah.
bit. What are some of the things that are must-haves?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is I think that the list, for me personally, needs to go bye-bye. We're
I
putting
think it's
out,
okay to
like,
have some things on the list.
that you know that are deal breakers. Okay, so like here's your deal breaker. I will not go there. But I think that if we put so much emphasis on the list that we do not give some a chance,
Well, maybe
so
if it's
we get
being honest.
It's real labeled, So just wondering.
yeah. And I
We're
can
going to get to a Q&A at the end, and we'll give you guys a chance to ask all your questions.
And I can piggyback on that. I know working with a lot of girls, what's attractive to them is having a guy that has passion, has something that he wants to create in life, direction, motivation, drive. And sometimes when you don't see that in the first couple of minutes or even the first date when you go out with someone. And so I think that can be the same with guys also, as we're so quick to make an assumption about whether we're attracted. It's that 5-second rule, no or yes, and we kind of stay to that rather than giving that other person a chance to. And that's why a lot of friendships develop into relationships. I know personally that's what's happened to me. Is a lot of my friendships have developed into relationships is because you're being authentic to who you are. That's real. Anytime that's real, it's the attraction's gonna be real.
Well, especially, when we talk about religion and some things like that, I mean, it's easy on a first date to say, do you go to church every week? Yeah. Okay. That doesn't really mean that you're devoted to your religion or anything like that. And that's something specifically to go along with what you said, Travis, that comes after a long time of getting to know someone and really seeing if there's someone who's, committed in that way. And if that's something that's important to you, that's going to take time to see. Like you say, a lot of time within friendships, that's where you get that. So.
Yep. Totally.
All right. First date. What are some first date turnoffs for you? And would you be willing to give the person a second chance?
If the turnoff is a deal breaker, then no. If we sit down to dinner and she orders wine or alcohol of some sort, that's a deal breaker for me.
Sure.
I'm not going to give her a second chance at a date. Maybe we can have some phone conversations and see why that's happening, or are you, were you developing there?
Sure.
But most likely not in that case.
All right.
Well, the girls have nothing to say on this. Come on.
Enjoy it, right?
So what are you saying? All your first dates have been a success?
Maybe they've gone out with
No,
people in this room.
not at all.
I feel like girls have better.
The only thing is you don't look anything like your picture. You're out. You're out, man. Your profile was really good online, but no.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not a make or break, but it's definitely points if they. Yeah. I had a guy that I went out with that was like making fun of me the entire time. It was past the point of like the little teasing where I was like, I don't know why we're out.
That's
What's
just
the point?
passive aggressive.
Yeah.
No.
Is it okay to be involved in several casual dating relationships, or do you prefer an exclusive dating relationship? At what point do you like to become exclusive? Okay. Floor's yours.
Okay. Let me give you a definition, okay, from the book, okay?
So it's true.
Okay?
How to avoid falling in love with a jerk.
don't go out with a jerk.
The foolproof way
And I'll give you a definition
Follow
of,
your heart without losing.
of a jerk later. But the thing is, it talks about players in here. Okay, people. I think that what we should be doing is dating. Once again, we should be dating. Okay, and the question is about how, when you should go exclusive. Okay, dating, time together. They have to go together. We don't go exclusive. We don't go into this relationship so quickly. And you shouldn't even be talking about exclusivity very early on. There's 2 books, and this one's one of them. It talks about accelerating a relationship. And this is just research-based. This is not me talking. Everything I talk about is research-based. I've wrote a lot of papers, a lot of research, okay? This is not me. So just date. Can you date multiple people? Are you a player at that point? Absolutely not, okay? If you are honest and you are dating, and so you're not exclusive, right? You're dating, and you're gonna date other people, and you're gonna date multiple, but if you're honest, you're not being a player. You should be dating, and you shouldn't go exclusive within the first 2 or 3 weeks, saying, "Oh, we're gonna stop dating everyone. Take your profile down. Oh, I need you to, it's just not wise to accelerate a relationship. That's all the book says.
Anyone else?
Now we can just the player thing. You totally can. It depends
Can't
on
talk about anything else?
how you can. Because there's no. I mean, you can't disagree with the player because it's a.
Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying before about honesty, communication, and kindness. Because if you're honest, you're going to tell people that you're already dating other people and you're going to continue seeing other people. But as far as where that exclusivity line gets drawn, I think that's important to establish, because if 2 people aren't on the same page, then it could be really detrimental to the potential relationship. I mean, it could be a good relationship if you give it a chance. And if you don't be honest and communicate that, hey, you want to be exclusive, or you don't want to be exclusive, then it could have some serious issues.
Personally, I've always just dated one person at a time, and I believe when we start dating multiple people at a time, we're going to one person because, oh, I love that they're so driven, or I love how I really love they're a good cuddler. And so we're getting all these needs taken care of across all these people. Now when we go to commit to one person, now my needs are not all being taken care of. So I feel like it can be dangerous. Personally, when I like someone, I like someone. I stay with that person. I don't think there should be any rule about, oh, after this many dates, then we can take our profile down. This many dates, then we have to be exclusive. It should be how you feel.
So personally, I've been called a serial monogamist, and I do that same kind of thing. Like when I find somebody that I like, I will start dating them exclusively, and obviously I'm still here, so it didn't work out. I'm willing to change. But at the same time, it's hard. It's really hard to date multiple people and balance and juggle sometimes. I mean, just talking to a lot of the people in this room today has been extremely difficult, because you start talking to somebody who you feel immediately that you want to talk to more with, and you're like, no, I'm here to make sure I talk to multiple people and make friends with multiple people. And so it's difficult.
All right. How assertive should women be when they're interested in someone? And I have heard both sides of this to extremes on the Facebook forums. So I'm curious what you guys want to say about this.
Well, I just talk a lot, but I'll say I think they should be extremely assertive, because most of the time, men are assertive on that. Like, raise your hand if you don't know when the guy wants to talk to you. Really? I try to make that really clear, that I want to talk to that person, or
I think it's 80-20. As guys, I feel like that's our initiative to go out and be in our masculine energy and approach someone we want to talk to. Girl, I feel like so much in our society, feminine and masculine, are being pushed to the middle. So much of it is being pushed to the middle. I mean, you got apps now where if you match, the girl has to talk to you first, which is girls are basically opening the door. It's a masculine quality, and I feel like everything's being pushed. But in that same regard, sometimes, you don't know, I had a client, she ended up marrying this guy. She went out, hung out with this person, and she didn't hear anything. I was like, just send him a text. Just send him a text, say, hey, I had fun. And he was a little nervous on reaching out, and they've been married for 9 years now. And so if she would have never sent that text, they wouldn't have been married.
I was talking to a friend just a couple weeks ago, and he was saying he was at a singles dance, and he heard these two girls talking as they were walking by, and one of the girls said to the other girl, I've walked by this guy 3 times, and he still hasn't asked me to dance. And I thought, well, that's silly. Like, just ask him to dance. Like, just walking by someone's not going to be enough of a hint. Like, I'm all for, like, being female and a woman and dressing like one and everything, but I'm all about just, like, if you're interested in someone, just go for it. Like, we're all adults. We all, it's not a big deal if they're not interested back, right?
And the one thing that I see a lot is, because girls will be like, well, he knows I'm interested. Are you sure he knows? Well, yeah, I touched his arm. Okay, come on. That would be everyone. I'm not saying that, go ask him on a date or anything, but send him a text and just say, if you asked me out, I'd say yes.
It's a safe one too. It's a safe one.
True.
Okay, here's a safe text. So I heard a rumor you wanted me to ask you out.
Yeah.
It's a safe one.
There you go.
So are guys scared? Are they not in their masculine energy because they don't think that they'll be received?
Yeah, once you get turned down, it hurts. No one likes to not feel attractive, loved, cool, and I sometimes you go through those little embarrassment stages. Like I was saying, I've worked with a lot of people right out of relationships, and I know what it feels to be out of a relationship. Your confidence sucks. You don't think anything about yourself, and to go up to someone and even say hi can be difficult. And so it's, again, gaining back your confidence and doing that and realizing that, it's just a no. And we get so offended if we get a no, and at the end of the day, like, why would you want someone to go out with you when they're really just not that interested in you? I would rather them just tell me no. Tell me you're not interested. I would appreciate that, and I feel like everyone in the room would appreciate someone just telling them no, rather than, well, I kind of like him, I guess I'll hang out with him since I'm bored, where maybe the feeling on the other end, that's not the same. So just tell me no. Regret is always worse than embarrassment. So, I mean, there's been situations where I've wanted to talk to someone and I didn't, and I'm like, gosh, geez, up in my head, if the regret's painful, and embarrassment is so much less painful than regret. So, and I feel like when you realize that, like, yeah, regret sucks. We've all been regretful in our life, and if we can just realize that, like, regret's gonna be more painful. And sometimes it's just walking up and just blurting out, hey, are you single? Good, me too. Like, something, because that's sure is embarrassing, but I'd rather be embarrassed than be regretful. Like, if you believe something, you want something, you don't do it, that weighs on you. And I've felt that, and I've seen other people feel it too, and they're not happy.
Well, and should we be embarrassed? Because I think we all do get embarrassed if we feel turned down, or we feel like, oh my gosh, why don't they like me? What is it about me? What if I were different in some way? But really, if someone approaches you and you're not interested, are you thinking these terrible things about them? Maybe you are, like, you think they're really good looking and they're really amazing in so many ways, but you just don't feel that connection. And I think that, like, we don't think it's ridiculous they came up to us and we're not laughing about it or something. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves. But it does make it, I think, as a woman, makes it so much easier for a guy. If you just show a little bit of interest, maybe just throw a text, just even a text to say, hey, what are you doing? What's going on?
Or at least be approachable.
Oh,
True.
there you go. Okay.
Because, I
Yeah.
mean, there are definitely some women out there who are just not approachable. I mean, I could tell that they don't want to be talked to, and that's okay. But the ones who are single and actually are looking, and those people are unapproachable as well, that's when it really starts to become a problem.
Good. Jump on his back. Okay. So, girls. Okay. So some girls they don't like getting hit on, so they cut off. Don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. Okay. But then this is the same girl saying, "No guys ask me out. This sucks." Okay. All right. You have to open yourself up. So if you can't say that if you're not being open to everybody, and I think that goes for guys included. Like, oh, I'm upset, girls don't give me attention. Well, you're being mean to that other person in the corner when they were wanting to talk to you. So I see it happen with a lot of girls. They get attention, they don't like the attention, but at the same time, oh, there's no one asking me out. Well, it's like, open yourself up then.
So what
Whenever girls say that, whenever I hear a girl say that, oh, no one asked me out, I always interrupt and I say, what you mean is no one that you want to ask you out asks you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is vulnerability. So, yeah, are you going to be vulnerable if you're going to open yourself up? Because we all are going to go through millions of little mini divorces again. We have to understand ourselves, and we have to heal, and we have to figure out what is our vulnerability, what it is. Who's going to go to the arena with you, who's going to let you, who's going to be in your marble jar, it's all that stuff of Brene Brown and shame and vulnerability. And so it's you got to check in. You got to check in with yourself and say, okay, am I being unavailable? Am I putting out that vibe? But I'm trying, and I'm going. But we're all just trying to make it. We're all just trying to be vulnerable again. And one little note on the other little, I'm a little bit opposite of like I'm a little old school. I don't pursue that much. I flirt. I love, anybody know me here? I'm a little flirt, but like I don't pursue. But I do go with my gut. And I have texted and I have said, I'm thinking of you. I did enjoy myself, and you gotta be in the moment for a minute and just be in your emotions and go with your gut. And if you feel like texting someone and saying, hey, and then they're married for 9 years, do it. But, I'm still a little old school. I want to be pursued.
We are all here in our different ways. And I want to say one real quick thing to Travis's comment. I think that a lot.
What'd you call me?
Travis.
Travis comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Travis comment.
Don't do that. Anyway, but I think a little bit of kindness goes so far. Not even don't just be kind to the one person that you want to go out with. Be kind with everyone, and that makes you approachable and just makes you a good person. And I think we could all use a little bit more kindness, and I think that's what we're all doing here is because we want a support system. We're not, I think most of us are here just to really develop those connections and find that support. And if we find someone special while we're here, fantastic. But be kind to everyone you see because everyone's going through their struggles, and we're all having a hard time with this area in our life.
One thing I want to touch on is because we've been talking a lot about rejection, and so a lot of times, and I say mostly this is I'm talking to girls, but guys too. But guys approach the girls and they don't want to hurt them, and so they give excuses and they beat around the bush. The kind thing is to just say no, flat out. If you're not interested, just say no. And I know girls think it's going to hurt them, and initially it is going to sting a little bit, but in the long run, it's actually much kinder to the guy for him to know that you're not interested in dating him. Instead of saying, oh, I'm busy. Is she really busy, or is that an excuse? Does she really want to ask you to ask her out again, or does she not want you to ask her out again? You're stuck in this conundrum where you really don't know. And if she would just be honest and just say, look, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested in going out with you, great. That is going to sting me a little bit, but at least now I know. and I can move on and I can look for someone else who would be interested.
You gotta use the law of F yes. If it's not a F yes, it's a no.
Well, so here's the question though.
If it's not a
I
F
like
yes,
that.
it's a no. If you
But
don't
here's
like,
the
I really
conundrum.
want to do this, then it's a no.
But we've talked about, you might think right off the bat that I'm not maybe as attracted to them as I'd like to be to someone, or like you think for whatever reason, maybe I probably wouldn't be interested. But sometimes, like, there's been a time or two that as I've gotten to know someone, I have developed that attraction. So if you say no right off the bat, you might be limiting yourself. And so I think that's the difficult thing as a woman, where you're like, I don't know. It's not an F yes, but who knows, you know? And until you get that person a chance, and maybe you'll just develop. Some of my best friendships have come from a first date.
But are they saying, I don't know yet, let's find out? Or are they just saying, I'm busy? Or,
You have
or
to-
here's my number, and when you call or text, no answer, no show,
Sure.
no nothing, you know?
That's fair.
You know what? Nothing ever goes wrong from being friends. And it goes back to you could always cross the barrier if you need to. And yeah, be friends. You don't have to, oh, this didn't work out, so I guess I'll see you around. Like, be friends. There's nothing wrong with just being friends and having that. It's good to have connections of both sexes.
Well, and I think also if, you know, we're all adults here and we can all be mature about it. You ask someone out, they can say, look, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested in that right now. And then you become friends, and 2 months down the road, you can go to that person and say, you know, I really wasn't interested, but the more I get to know you, I've become quite interested in you. And if they're still interested, then you can go out and you can see where that leads. So, you know, it's all about being mature in our relationships and just owning up to our feelings.
We have time for one more question, and then we'll do Q&A. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper on this. How do we heal from past hurts and avoid it affecting new relationships? Because obviously, by this point in our lives, we've been hurt probably in a huge way if we've gone through divorce. And like Caroline was saying, maybe multiple, like what feel like tiny divorces as you go through all these breakups. And every time you think this is it, and then it just falls apart again. How do you avoid that affecting your future relationships?
Well, it is going to affect it. Number one, all of this will affect to a point. And we have, I mean, of course we can say, okay, yeah. And that's where we have to be in tune with ourselves. We have to have mindset, we have to have mindfulness, we have to be in the moment and say, okay, you know what am I feeling right now? Why is this a trigger for me? You have to know your triggers from your past relationships. And then you have to go heal them. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And there is a lot of books. There's therapy and there's support groups and there's us and there's, I mean, this is my family. This is where I have come to get my support and my self-concept to build myself back up out of a very devastating situation, which we all are in. And so the thing is it will affect. But, okay, are we going to say, oh my gosh, I've heard this a lot. That just reminded me of my ex-husband. Can you not do that? Oh my gosh, you didn't text me back? Like, it's been 2 hours since you texted me back, and that just freaks me out. You do that, and you're going to push so many people out of your life. You just have to be aware, and there's a lot of healing and awareness, and that can go on forever on how to heal that. But honestly, you've got to work through with the third person. You have to sit through some sessions. You have to do some work, and so you can say, okay, and then you tell the person, you know what, I was just triggered by that comment. I want to talk about it, and it takes 2 people to do all this, you know, this kind of connection. But for me, it's not communication, it's connection. And number one, you have to have a safe place to do that. The first and foremost of any relationship with anything is you have to form a safe environment for a person to say, you know what, oh, that kind of hurt my feelings. I was kind of triggered by that. This is why. And saying it out loud, but we need to have a safe environment for everyone to be in.
Well, and I think it's important to, if you're in a relationship with someone, to explain those triggers to them. Because a lot of times, maybe one person says or does something, and the other person freaks out and either stops talking to them or jumps down their throat or something, and they have no idea what they did.
No.
Because it's something simple that this other person developed through a previous previous relationship, and they have no idea that that was something that caused the trigger. So if that person, once you calm down, have a conversation with that person and just let them know that's a big trigger for me, then that person can avoid that particular thing. And it might be something small and insignificant and they have no idea, but they can avoid that so that you can continue to develop a good relationship.
And there's two of my favorite words right there, just exactly what you said, is connection and repair. Every day, every minute, with our kids, with our friends, with our boss, with our coworker, everything is connect and repair. How am I going to connect with that person and how am I going to repair it every single day? And if you don't know how to do that, you need to go get some healing help. And if you don't know what your triggers are, you say, oh, you just triggered me, or let me explain what my triggers are, but a lot of us don't know what those are. So you got to work on those first and foremost before you can jump into a relationship and say, oh, how do I connect and repair with this person? How do I be vulnerable? How do I be safe with them? If you can't feel the safeness, that's where the deal breakers come, because then it will be this, and you're not going to repair.
Anyone else?
I wanted to add, maybe, sorry.
Go ahead.
A lot of us have fear. We have fear because past relationships haven't worked. We have fear that a future relationship won't work. We have fear that we are not worthy of a future relationship. And we can't have faith when we have fear. And we have to, that's a choice. We can choose to replace that fear with faith. And anyway, we have the power to do that. So.
I think it's just letting yourself feel those emotions. Like, you felt this very powerful rejection, regardless of if you end it or the other person ends it. It hurts. And, I've been in a relationship where every day I'm usually up 7, 8 a.m. ready to tackle the day, and after the relationship I'm peeling myself off my bed at 1:30, cancel everything, going over to my parents and just crying. And you don't really change stuff until you feel it. And so what we try to do, and I've been guilty, and I think we all have been guilty, is you feel this pain and it sucks. And so you go out and you try to find someone to heal you because you feel this crappiness. But when I'm working out with my clients in the gym, and every time they go, oh, Travis, this hurts, and I go over, oh, let me take that away from you. You can't let it burn. Okay? They don't grow. They don't get stronger. They don't burn fat. And we got to realize that we grow through our pain, even though it sucks, but our interpretation of it needs to change. As I'm working out, I was like, yeah, this feels good. Other people are like, oh, this is awful. This is the worst thing. Why would you ever do this to yourself? And so, and that's what I love about it, is like, when you're in the gym, you're training yourself to feel that, but still move forward. And we need to be able to feel that. And then, okay, how do I need to strengthen myself? How do I need to be the best version of myself? And I can tell you, some of the biggest changes I've made in my life have been right out of a relationship, because it was painful, it sucked, the lion was chasing me. I got back into it, started working, and really focused on going back to Oishi and not changing into something because of fear, changing in something because this is what I want to be. And they say the most successful people in the world, they're not motivated by fear, they're motivated by what they want to create.
We're going to open it up now, so if you have any questions, could be for a specific person or just to the panel, or any comments you want to make, just go ahead and raise your hand. Go ahead.
So I want to know your take on Jarvis and Tinder. What do they expect? What do you think about Tinder?
Okay, online dating, you have a 6.9% of continuing a long-term relationship. A long-term relationship.
So you're saying there's a
from
chance?
No, I'm saying there's a 1 million yes. So there is a chance.
So is Tinder a good online site to go to?
My personal opinion.
Yeah, anyway.
I've only been on it for 2 weeks, so don't ask me.
She can start.
What's interesting?
And why did they go to Tinder?
Okay.
I think
What do they expect from Tinder?
what's interesting to me right now, what I've been doing is not doing online dating. if I see somebody that I think is interesting, I've been going up and talking to them, and it's been working. My confidence level has grown immensely in the past 6 months because of all the changes in my life, and I haven't even had to use online dating. So to answer your other question about dinner, just cook for them because they like that.
Let me say something about that. For me, like, I don't have any problems with online dating. I think it works really well for some people. But for me, like, I've done it, and actually, I did get a boyfriend out of it. It didn't last. But for me, I like to go to things like this, where I get to know people as friends and see how they interact with other people. I think you get to know people so much better than when you're scrolling through pictures, and they might have like a little blur, but it's really hard to get to know them. And so, I don't know, I just really like the in-person thing.
And I'm not shunning online dating at all. I've definitely done it in the past. I've definitely met some great people. But I just haven't had any recently.
And he got a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
So, right.
Whether it be
Right.
a stake dance or a church meeting or
And it's a combination of all of these things, and it's building us up. It's the point is it's our whatever you need to do to help yourself feel more confident. And it's using all of the tools together. And if it's that, if it's this, if it's meeting a person, but it does open up the pool. The online dating opens up the pool too.
Travis, did you?
I was just backing on what he said. Albert Einstein said the quote, technology is making us stupid. We don't communicate anymore. We can talk more, but we don't communicate more.
A texting conversation is much different than in real life conversation.
A lot of misunderstandings. They're texting.
You don't get emotion through
Don't
text
text
messaging.
angry.
Monty?
Call.
Yeah, listen to the movie Hitch. When it's coming on, it tells you there's a 10% of communications in words. 30% is in your tone and when you're talking, the other 60 is in body language. So you're only getting texting, you're only getting 10% of that communication. But what I was y'all were talking about earlier, what we were searching for, and you mentioned about making a list. And President Kimball in the Miracle of Forgiveness, he talks about. He's talking to youth with the same principle apply to adults. He said, go out and date everybody, date monogamously, kind of like you're talking about. Don't pair off one person in a commitment. Yeah. And as you get to know those people and you get to know what you like and dislike, your triggers, things that are attractive to you and what's not, then you can start narrowing it down. And you have your must-haves, kind of your deal breaker list, and then you get your want-to-haves that are negotiable.
You're right.
And what I've done, I've been self-awareness. I've done a crash course the last couple of years, but I really know what I want. I want I call it the 3 L's: love, laughter, and loyalty, along with clear and transparent communication and songs. And I think as you're more transparent and you have those experiences with people, you build that trust. Trust is something that takes time to build. But if you have those as a foundation, that communication and that love and the loyalty, when I say the love languages, if you have those things as a foundation for your if you have good, clear communication, the other things are going to click. I mean, because you'll be able to talk things out. You'll talk a lot about working things out, being clear and talking. I think it is so essential that you have someone that's respectful, not just communicating, but it's the way you talk, that tone, and the way you talk to people.
I think that's great, Monty. And my take on online dating, whether it's Tinder or any form of online dating, is I think there's, as we talked about, we're all different, and there's different things we look for, and there's different things that work for us. So there's all these online dating things can work for us in different aspects. But to go back to what I think Travis or Phil was saying, it's that in-person stuff that's important. And so for me, I use some of those sites, but it's just a tool to get me in person with that person. So yeah, you match with someone and maybe you share a couple messages, but then you need a meetup. A lot of people use those and they just message back and forth for months and they never actually meet up. And that doesn't go anywhere. So that's not something that I like to do, but if you can use that as a tool, I use events like this to meet people, and I do movie nights and all these other singles events where you can go meet people Well, Tinder's just another avenue, or Bumble, or anything else out there. There's just another avenue where you can meet someone and you can actually meet up, you know, go grab some dinner, talk to that person, and see if there's something there. And if there is, great. If not, you know, you move on, just like if you met someone at a party. So.
And so I guess this would be a question that would be kind of going on what you said, but I guess this would be a question for women. I know that a lot of women feel like, you know, if they're not getting a lot of messages, you know, they want to try to get to know the person so they don't feel like they're being, I guess, attacked or some sort of a predator or something. So, basically going off of that, I mean, you basically said, you know, a couple of messages. You know, my guess is it's probably going to have to be more than a couple for, you know, the woman to feel comfortable meeting someone that they've never met before.
Okay. Yeah, so where's the balance
So
between
balance.
meeting quickly
Balance.
and not feeling like the guy's gonna attack?
Okay, so that's balance. So balance and boundaries, okay? There's balance and there's boundaries, okay? There's boundaries that if a woman gives you a boundary, number one, in the number one of the definition of a jerk is someone that does not perceive, you know, the boundary set
I don't respect
and they don't respect it. So if a woman says, you know what, I'm busy, you know, can you just give me a text tomorrow? Today's not a good day or whatever. And you keep on texting 3 or 4 or 5, 6 texts that night and say, hey, you know, I just checking in with you. That's a boundary, you know, you're breaking a boundary. But so balance. But a woman's you're gonna read into it. You gotta be able to read into some of that stuff. And know when, you know, when is too much, when balance is okay, and then ask the question to her, you know?
The question was, how soon should you ask somebody out on a date from those things and not?
As soon as possible. No, seriously, as soon as possible. Ask, do just a little meet and greet is what I call it. We just do a meet and greet. Just meet, because you don't know until you meet. You do this texting on and on, like blah, 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 blah.
In public?
No, in public, no addresses, no nothing. Just in public, meet and greet, and pursue that and say, hey, let's go get a drink. Let's, you know, whatever. And a non-alcoholic drink. It's called a dirty Dr. Pepper. Just right to the.
How dirty?
Yeah, you might
I
want to be
like a
careful
lot
where
of
you put it.
coconut in it.
Depends how
No.
Shaking that
There
skin.
was a whole.
Okay, I know.
Okay, any other
I
questions or
just
comments?
like-
We have about 5 minutes.
Can we close it up with that?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thanks for coming out, guys. Really appreciate it. We want to give thanks our panel. Give them a big round of applause. Thanks again, guys. We will post a link to our group for the podcast on the event page, the In Crowd. So if anyone wants to check it out, there'll be a link there, and you can go and watch our previous podcasts.
We typically do them on Thursdays at 6. We're gonna do it a little bit less during the summer because there's a lot going on, so probably about twice a month. Just go on to Mormon Meat Locker on Facebook and you can stay tuned.
Okay, thanks for coming, guys.